Hey party people, Carter here. Got a video for you. This is going to be a look inside of a single action OTF knife. By single action I mean the button only performs one action. It deploys the blade. To retract the blade, it is a manual thing where you have to pull it back manually. This is a Cupid clone, so basically a copy of a Rob Dalton Cupid. This is one of those fakes that people don't get so upset about. It's kind of interesting. If this were a hinderer or a fake strider, people would be really upset about this video. But being a Cupid clone, not so much. I mean, maybe now that I bring it up, but generally speaking, people accept this clone. I guess it's just because Rob Dalton's not really that active, at least in production models, and he's not as well known as Hinderer or Chris Reeve or anything like that. In fact, a lot of people that own this knife don't even know that it's a clone because it's that obscure, I guess. But anyway, so we're going to take this apart. I have never successfully taken apart and put back together a single action OTF, so I'm a little bit nervous, a little bit excited to do that, but it should be pretty cool. I think I'll be able to get it back together because I am armed with an arsenal of knowledge now, I guess. I don't know. I've got an idea of how I'm going to get it back together. So, we're going to begin. Well, let me talk a little bit about double action OTFs, meaning the button actually deploys and retracts the blade. Now you would think that taking apart a double action OTF would be more difficult and a scarier task than a single action OTF, right? Because it seems like it's more complex, there's more parts, more springs, which is all very true, but ironically, taking apart a double action OTF is actually easier, or at least rather putting it back together is easier, mainly just due to how it functions. The main difficulty with a single action OTF is the spring tension and how it kind of works with the whole mechanism. Man, these screws are pretty big, a little bigger than I was expecting. No pun intended. Well, maybe there was. So, we're using a hex driver here to get this apart. It doesn't use Torx, just uses your standard hex. I'm trying to be careful because a lot of these cheaper knives use softer steel, and it's pretty easy to strip out these screws, whether it's the threads or the actual head of the screw itself can get stripped out and cause problems. Okay, here we go. So there goes the spring. Whoa, here goes the main part here. So this is the tricky part with putting this stuff back together, is this spring here, but I have a plan. So here is the front scale. You can see, and you know, part of this, guys, is me exploring as well, because like I said, I haven't taken one of these apart myself, so I'm pretty curious to take a look inside and see how everything works. Here is the button that also locks up the blade. You can see the button actually goes inside the middle here, and that is what allows the blade to lock up. So you can see it's in the lock position now. When you press the button, this goes through and allows the blade to travel this way. So that is why you need this groove cut in the middle, because the blade actually travels in between this button here. And when you lock it up, this pushes forward, and that provides your lockup. So pretty solid lockup compared to like a single action OTF, or I mean a double action OTF, which uses these little gates, is what keeps the blade open. So you get a little bit more solid lockup when you're using one of these here. So let's put this inside here. So here is where the button goes, right inside there. So this is the locked position. and then press the button in. That's when it closes. And then press, let's see. So then the button pops out somewhat. You can see right there. And this is how it's locked. And if you look, I can pull this apart. That's what this groove is on this side right there. So when it's closed, the button pushes up into that groove, and that's what keeps it in the locked position. Then when you press the button, pushes it out, it can travel forward. Same thing happens when it's open. So yeah, pretty cool. Pretty stout design, I mean, you know, for what it is, which is why generally people say if you want an OTF and you want it to be the most reliable version of an OTF and the most powerful with the most solid lockup, the single action is the way to go, because you can have much more spring tension, and then you have the ability to have a stronger style lockup than otherwise. Now if this had a safety would be right here. I wish it did have a safety. Some versions of the original Dalton Cupid have a safety, later versions. Basically all it does is it just slides something underneath this button, which prevents it from being depressed. So that's it, guys. This is inside of a single action OTF knife. I was thinking about possibly doing a little work, maybe a little Dremel work to it, trying to smooth it out. It's not the smoothest knife out there, so I was thinking about doing that. I may do that, I may not do that, but either way, I need to get me a tool together so that I can put this back together. So stay tuned for putting a double or a single action OTF back together. Until then, guys, take it easy, have fun, play with your knives, all that stuff. Later.